The battle for union transparency continues. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.Media. There were two important private members' bills passed in the last session of Parliament that we need to talk about again. Bill C-525. This is the one that brought in for federally regulated workers the right to a secret ballot if you actually want to certify or decertify a union. Tom Mulcair and Justin Trudeau have vowed to repeal it, and union bosses hate it because, well, turns out when people don't have someone strong-arming them, looking over their shoulder while they vote, with the open hand, where they actually get to mark a secret ballot like we do to vote for Tom Mulcair or Justin Trudeau or Stephen Harper. Well, when that happens, Canadians choose less frequently to join a union. They're less likely to certify, they're more likely to decertify if they have a secret ballot. So union bosses hate this act of, democracy that we've been practicing in Canada at the federal level since the 1870s. The other bill that passed just before Parliament rose, the Commons had already left, the Senate was getting ready to rise for the summer, and they passed Bill C-377. This is the one that forces unions, organizations that have special privileges of law, to collect billions of dollars tax-free by force of law from their members, whether the members or non-members want to pay the dues or not. Well, they decided they don't like that they're going to have to be transparent with how those billions are spent. So they're fighting this. We knew the fight was going to come. There was this headline in rabble.ca, the rabidly far left-wing news site funded by Canada's unions with forced dues donations, saying that first they'll fight it on the campaign trail, then they'll fight it in the court. That seemed to indicate that the big unions were all waiting until after the federal election because they might not need to fight it in court. They might just get their wish if they elect the right person, and they are spending millions to elect Mulcair or Trudeau. But then this news release came out last week. The Alberta Union of Public Employees is challenging it in court. Let me read to you from their news release. The application was filed yesterday afternoon in the Court of Queen's Bench of Alberta. It claims Bill C-377 intrudes on provincial jurisdiction over labor relations, violates union members' charter rights, and asks the court to declare the legislation invalid and of no force or effect. The quote from AUPE President Guy Smith says, "This bill singles out unions and their members for needless scrutiny that no other organization in Canada is subjected to." Let me give you a hint, Guy Smith. No other organization or type of organization has the special privileges afforded to unions. You don't want to join a union? You might be forced to. You don't want to pay union dues? You're going to be forced to. The courts have backed that up. No other organization has this sort of power to take money and then spend it on political advocacy the way unions do. So yeah, a little bit of transparency might be in order, whether you like it or not. Now, this is being decried as controversial in most media reports. No, not the lawsuit, the bill. Have you noticed that all the union journalists out there keep calling this a controversial bill? It turns out a new poll shows that the majority of Canadians actually like this. I've been telling you for years that the poll conducted by Labour Watch that shows the majority of union members, overwhelming majority of union members, support the concept of transparency, as laid out in Bill C-377. But now, an actual poll of everyday Canadians not looking at union members, and what does it find? The majority say, show where the money goes. From Forum Research, Bill C-377 was recently approved by the Senate and will become law. It states that all unions must disclose any expenditure of $5,000 or more and any salary of $100,000 or more. Do you approve or disapprove of Bill C-377? Well, what's the total? 62% of Canadians across the country approve it, only 18% disapprove, and 20% don't know. Is this a controversial bill? No, not at all. It's the type of thing that should have come a long time ago. As I've been telling you, in the United States, they've had this type of disclosure since 1959. And some of the unions that are fighting it here in Canada have their head office in the United States and have been living with this since 1959. It's how we know about the United Steelworkers giving illegal donations to the NDP. It's how we know that the claim from the NHL Players Association that this will kill off contracts for video games or hockey cards is just not true. The Major League Baseball Players Association has been living with this since 1959. Don Fair, current head of the NHLPA, he used to sign the forms when he was head of Major League Baseball's Players Association. So there's a lot of kerfuffle in this. But here's the question. Why is this being taken up by the Alberta Union of Public Employees and not one of the major national unions like Unifor? Well, I did some asking around, and I've come up with a pretty good theory. They're judge shopping. The theory is that the federal court in Alberta is going to be more open to this provincial jurisdiction argument, that they are less deferential to the legislature than federal court judges here in Ottawa. So this could be a case of the unions getting together and deciding that they'll judge shop this, that they'll find a judge that they know is going to be sympathetic to their cause. We know there's plenty. No, this is going to go to court, and if they win, it won't be over. If they lose, it won't be over. This is an ongoing battle. Why? Because the unions are desperate to make sure that no one ever finds out how corrupt some of them have become. We discovered how corrupt some of them were during the Charbonneau Commission in Quebec, where incidentally, support for unions having to disclose their funding is the highest. It is the most unionized province of the country. It is the most supportive of unions, and also the one that says you must show where the money is spent. Why? Because they know about the corruption. And the best disinfectant is sunlight. Let there be sunlight.